I'll read your ads however you like. I can be sultry and smooth, excited and vibrant, or serious and informative. Get in touch for all your on-air advertising needs by emailing info@lurlive.co.uk or by calling 07908 974 543.
Luton Urban Radio.
Welcome back to another episode of Passing Me Podcast. My name is Dominic, and of course, joined by my co-host Aaron. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. How you been?
I'm good. I'm excited to get into it this week. We've got a bit of a transfer special coming, obviously with the January transfer window deadline a few days ago. But as we do on Passing Move, of course, we're going to get into the biggest game of this week and Manchester City, versus Arsenal at the Emirates. And this game was, I mean, over the past few seasons, City-Arsenal has been typically the game that people would say has decided the title races. But this season is different because City have obviously fallen off. Arsenal are not at the same pace that they were in previous years, but there was still that sort of tension coming into the game because of what happened in the previous leg with Haaland, what he said to Arteta and Lewis Skelly and all that. And we're going to get into all of that in a little bit, but just wanted to start on some of the tactical details of the game. Obviously, Arsenal were largely dominant throughout the 90 minutes. I thought that they really stepped up after going 2-1 up, but I think in the opening stage of the game as well, they kind of set the pace with the way that they were pressing. Obviously, you saw the goal that Ødegaard scored very early on, coming from the pressure that Arsenal had with Havertz and Ødegaard pressing high. Stones tried to play the ball through to Akanji. It was cut off by, I think, Trossard. Trossard pressed Akanji. Rice played it to Havertz, and it was a simple finish for Ødegaard. What did you think of Arsenal's press and their pressure in that game, the intensity of it and how it was organised?
I don't know. Obviously, as a City fan, I might be a bit biased, but I think it was good. But I think it's also kind of City almost played into their hands type thing. Like, look at Ortega. It all starts from the back. I think Ortega had probably his worst game so far in a City shirt. On the ball and off the ball, like his distribution, shocking this game. And normally it's an issue with him, his distribution. Not that it's not quality, but it's rather that it's too slow or that it takes too long. But this game it was both. He was taking forever to distribute the ball, and then when he did, the passes weren't good enough, and you struggle to really build that rhythm if every time, like if you go long with the ball in a team that likes to predominantly play out from the back, if you choose to go long, most of the time, it's because you have a plan. You have like a flick on or something, or you're going to try and win the second ball. But a lot of the time, just like they're going long and the fans are going, way. Like, it's what's the word? It's like demoralizing almost.
Yeah.
Because you got Haaland out there spending the whole game fighting with Gabriel just to send them a ball that he's never going to get to. And then they clean up. It's like, their press has done their job. They're like feeling better about themselves, and it's almost like we lost the ball again. It's like it's deflating. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a, I don't know. I think they definitely did press well, but we did kind of play into their hands. You mentioned Stones and Akanji as well. Like probably like 5 minutes in, they made an error. Like things like this, it all sorts of plays into their hand, and you have to give credit where it's due. Obviously, with Arsenal, probably the best defensive team in the world. You can't really do much against them, but I don't know. I think it would be a different outcome perhaps if it was a bit better from the back, I would say.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think I wanted to touch on Arsenal's build-up as well in this game because I thought they did really well, particularly Thomas Partey dropping in between the centre-backs and progressing play that way. I like that, the way that Arsenal they tried to initially in the first phase play through the middle and then move it out into the wide areas where Ødegaard or Rice would get on the ball and then involve Martinelli. Havertz did well as well, drifting over to the right-hand side. And I think that's something that we spoke on a few episodes ago, kind of when Saka went down, how those dynamics would change because of how almost reliant Arsenal are on chance creation from the right-hand side. But I thought that they found some really good solutions in this game with some of the movements from Havertz and Trossard, Rice and Ødegaard as well, pushing up into the final third. But I did want to touch on City as well in terms of the way that they defended, because although I do think Arsenal were were good in this game, and they, you know, they clearly had a game plan. They implemented it well, and they were intense in their actions, and they were decisive in key moments as well. I do feel like Manchester City made it easier for them than even Arsenal would have expected. I think there were a few moments, particularly in the second half, when the game got a bit more stretched, when Arsenal players are just free in space between the lines or on the edge of the box. I think that Bernardo Silva and Kovacic, sorry. Bernardo Silva and Kovacic really struggled to kind of cut off those spaces and cover the key zones that Arsenal players were trying to get into. What did you kind of think about City defensively, in this game?
It's kind of the same old story, innit, with City this season. Like, I think there's a clip from, I think it's 2-1 the party goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Foden gives the ball away, then it's like you see Foden sort of make an effort to get back. You see everyone else make an effort to sort of like shuffle over bar Kovacic. Like Kovacic is just he's not really there.
And that's the area that he should be in as well.
Yeah, as like the main number 6, your job is to sort of screen the defense. And obviously it's I wouldn't say a lucky goal, but it's a deflected long shot. You know what I mean? Like it's not really much you can do about that. But still, it's sort of about the presence of being there, you know. If there's an extra body there, does Partey even go for that shot?
He might not even have the time to,
yeah. And it's just being the presence there. Something I spoke about in the PSG game with Akanji and Kovacic.
Yeah.
It just being a presence there sometimes. You don't have to actually make the action or make the last-ditch tackle, but being a presence there can allow for other players. Like, for example, if Kovacic is there, perhaps Bernardo Silva can step out to press. Do you know what I mean? Like, things like that. Just being a presence has an effect, like, simply by being a body there. And I feel like things like that is kind of in the story of the season, to be honest. Like, minor things like this and just defensive intensity as a whole, the club's just been missing. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the story of the season. I think after that goal, it just was kind of out of sight almost. Like, we never really got a rhythm. Even with the new subs coming on, didn't really see them getting the game. Arsenal sort of dominated it. To be honest, the game was pretty much done at like 3-1.
Yeah.
There was no real there wasn't, like, they didn't even need to score the extra 2 goals. Do you know what I mean? They were passing the ball about, doing olays, like, I don't know, man. It was kind of done already for me. But well, what do you think of the game?
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought I agree with what you're saying pretty much. I think you guys were largely in it until that 2-1. Once Arsenal scored, when Partey scored, I think the crowd really got behind them, and you could kind of see that it almost gave Arsenal like a second life. I think they were they continued the intensity of their press as well, and on the ball as well. I thought that they did well to kind of make the most of transition situations. I think that's something that Arsenal have been criticised a lot for this season, particularly Ødegaard. Moments when the team can break on transition and not really going for it. And I think in this game, to be fair, when Arsenal were on the transition, it wasn't really Ødegaard on the ball. There was one time before the Havertz goal that Rice kind of broke through, carried the ball through midfield, and then played it through to Martinelli, and he got a shot away. And I think for the Havertz goal, it was Martinelli just carrying the ball up the field and then playing it to Havertz for the overlap. But there is one thing I want to speak to you about in terms of City and the shape. So, although I think Arsenal dominated this game, City did have more possession. I believe you guys had 54% of the ball. And I think since Marmoush has come into the team, we've kind of noticed like a new sort of shape that Pep is trying to use to integrate him into the team. He's kind of playing more of like almost like a left 10, and then Foden starts as a right wing and then comes inside almost as the right number 10, and you've got Matheus Nunes as the right back on the overlap. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, because I think that it's a good plan, especially to get the best out of Marmoush. You spoke about it on the last episode, I believe, when we talked about kind of his fit as a signing, and some of your concerns about him if he was going to be playing on the left wing or up front as a number 9. You kind of mentioned that that number 10 position is probably best for him. It's similar to where he played at Frankfurt. But I thought in this game, you guys were just very slow to get the ball into those number 10s, particularly in the first half. There was a lot of kind of Akanji, Stones, Kovacic just on the ball, recycling play. And I was even seeing like Marmoush would make a run in behind, Foden would make a movement in behind. They just weren't really getting the ball. What do you kind of think of that the shape in general, and as a way moving forward for City? Do you think it's a solution to kind of turn your fortunes around?
I don't know. I think Pep's kind of just experimenting at the moment, trying to see what works. Like we started, as you said, with Foden off the right, coming inside, and then Marmoush sort of as like the 10 and Savio off the left. But like 15, 20 minutes in, I think they just changed it. They sent Savio to the right, Marmoush to the left wing, and then Foden as the 10. Because I think the attack was a bit lopsided towards the left. Foden wasn't really getting on the ball, and Marmoush and Savio weren't able to really do much with it anyway. But Marmoush did surprise me a little bit. You know, there was a few times where he got the ball on the left, and because of the sort of mindset that he has and the sort of intensity he has that he plays with, he got the ball. And there's one time I think there's like two defenders that come to him, and he like squeezes through them and just carries on dribbling.
Yeah.
They're not there. And I think those sort of situations, it's not really the same as Grealish, but it's similar to Grealish, where there's already a preformed separation between the two players.
Yeah.
He can drive at defenders and do better than if they're already on him when he receives the ball. And I feel like he surprised me a little bit. Like he showed a bit that he can, in some capability, play against like, I'd say against like more top teams and teams who are going to attack more rather than sit in a low block. He can play a bit better off the left, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think overall, the shape it's in theory it works, but I think this all, like, as with most of the season, comes down to the recruitment and the squad planning. You know, you look at the players you got behind him. I know the moment you're talking about where Marmoush makes a darting run in behind, and in his Frankfurt highlights and in the Bundesliga, those are the type of goals he was scoring on the counter attack.
Yeah.
You know, but he makes that run. Bernardo Silva has the ball, and he just doesn't play it. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I think it's those type of moments where it's like, you know, you need someone like, I'm not too sure whether Rodri will play it or not, but you need someone with that capability who can play it.
Someone's more in to take that risk,
You
basically.
see what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah. And even you look at the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, who was available in the summer. Like, I think that's the type of player that you need, not only for like defensive intensity, but also on the ball. You need someone who's willing to make those passes. So yeah, I don't know. I think the shape, we'll probably end up moving away from it sooner rather than later. But I don't know. I think it's just a bit of an experimentation period. You know, there's a few things they need to iron out. And I know Pep did say after the PSG game that like Bernardo and Kovacic, like it just doesn't work. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you get to games like this, it's like, what other choice do you have? Like Bernardo and Kovacic versus like, I don't know, Bernardo and Gundogan. Like other than Gundogan being like better in possession.
It's like the battle of mid.
Yeah, like there's really not like much difference. You know what I mean? What can you really do? So I don't know, man. This all for me kind of goes back to the squad planning side of things.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I want to talk about some of the individuals from this game that really stood out to us. I think Declan Rice, for me, was one of the best players on the pitch. I think he came away with 2 assists.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think he was quality. It's interesting, obviously, because now we're talking about the game with the context of Arsenal going out of the Carabao Cup to Newcastle yesterday, and a lot was made of sort of Declan Rice's ability on the ball. I think, yeah, for one of the goals, he lost it after David Raya played him the pass. But I feel like with the discussion with Rice is always either one of two ways. I think that you have like the Arsenal fans on one side that praise him for his off the ball ability, his intensity, his legs, his ability to win duels and then bring the ball up the pitch when he can carry it, and then you have kind of his detractors that talk about his on ball game and maybe his lack of progressive passing, how he sometimes maybe doesn't make himself available for the passes in build up. But I think you just have to look at a player like Declan Rice for what he is and what he brings to the team, especially with the way that the Premier League is now. I think it's so big on physicality and being able to cover large spaces, and I don't think there's anyone in the league better than Declan Rice, to be honest. Maybe even in the world. I think as a off the ball number 6 defensive midfielder, I think he's probably the best in his position, and I think it's just invaluable the type of benefits that he brings to the team. And yeah, what do you kind of think on Declan Rice? Where do you sit on the side of the arguments?
I love Declan Rice, man. City fans might not want to hear me say it, but I love Rice, man. I think he's class. I don't know. I think some of the criticism is a bit overblown. It's warranted to some extent, but it's definitely overblown. Like, he's not ever really gonna be Rodri. Do you know what I mean? He's not gonna have that sort of.
But
received back
how
to
many
goal.
how many Rodris are there?
You
Like
see what I
in world
mean?
football anyway. Like
You
not
see what I
everybody
mean?
can be a Rodri.
That's the thing. So I don't know. I feel like you kind of have to play to your strengths. I think that's probably why Arsenal are looking at getting like Zubamendi in because he's almost going to be the guy who will do that receiving, and then Rice will be the guy who's a bit further up the pitch or dropping deep to receive the ball and carry it forward.
Yeah.
Probably suits him a bit more. But I don't know. I think with Rice, I'm a big fan. I think with him, it's just a thing where he's like, what, 25 now or 26?
Yeah, I think he's 26.
26, yeah. Like, I don't know if ever he's going to sort of add that to his game. So for me, it's just take it as it is. Like, scenarios like the one against Newcastle, for example, he gave the ball away. He shouldn't be in those scenarios.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Newcastle are great pressing sides. So obviously, that's going to factor in. So against top pressing teams, he might get exposed a little bit. But still, like, those are not scenarios that you want him in.
I also think that's a hospital pass from Rice
for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, it's not a good pass. So I don't know. I'm not too sort of. I don't think it's really like an indictment on his ability or anything. You know what I mean? Like, players do make mistakes. It happens.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think the next individual we have to talk about is obviously Miles Lewis Skelly. Obviously comes away with a goal and another top performance from him. This guy just looks so comfortable playing at all levels. Not even in his favorite position, and he's just fitted like a duck to water almost. I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. One of the things that I really like about him is that he kind of embodies Arteta's philosophy in terms of matching that physicality with the technical ability. And I think in this game, you just really saw that kind of to the max. Some of the times where he was able to just carry the ball through midfield, getting past players. And I know Kovacic and Bernardo are not the most physical players, but he still made it look way easier than it should have been. Defensively as well, he's very good, can hold his own. He's someone that I really want to see kind of playing in midfield eventually. I know that right now, kind of with the injuries to Calafiori, he's filling in. But I really hope that he does get the chance in midfield, because I think that his performances at left back, and obviously when he steps into midfield, I think that what he's shown there warrants an actual opportunity to start in his favourite position. So yeah, what did you make of Lewis Skelly's performance and just him as a player in general?
Yeah, I thought he was amazing. You know, obviously it's not hard to be amazing at City, but I do think he's a top player for sure. Like, he surprises me, like, because I wasn't really looked in with him at youth level. You know, I watched more of like Noneri, Miguel Aziz, like those sorts of guys, Charlie Patino. Like, I wasn't really in touch with, or I wasn't really tuned in with Lewis Skelly. So like, him starting for Arsenal was like my first sort of introduction to him.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised at how like ready he is, like physically and like mentally as well. Like, he's sort of ready. Like, he's not even a player where you have to be like, for example, Waneri, I'd probably say there's a bit more caution that needs to be had with him, because like, you know, he's a good player, but you've seen him in a few games here and there this season where he's not really had much of an impact on the game.
Yeah, it's almost like the game passes him by. But I
Yeah.
think that's something that happens to young players when
You
you're
see
just
what I mean?
finding
Yeah.
your feet at that top level. Yeah.
Yeah, but with Lewis Skelly, I feel like you don't have any of that. Like, he's just ready to go now. So yeah, it really does surprise me. Hopefully, you know, you can see him get some more midfield minutes. I think from next season that might end up being the plan, because they'll bring in Zubamendi and let go of Partey and Jorginho as it stands. So you'd expect him to sort of jump in there and sort of fill in that spot. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think he's really like it's almost like an all-round midfielder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
All
Like,
action. Yeah.
yeah, like he can drop and like receive the ball, or he can go forwards, like he can carry it from back to front. He can receive on the half turn in the advanced areas. Like, I don't really know. Like, it will be interesting to see where exactly he fits into this team, because I don't know. He's crazy. Like, when I'm watching, I'm thinking, wow, like, is this really like, how old is he? Like 18?
yeah.
Like, is this really an 18-year-old? I don't know, man.
So check the passport.
Nah. But honestly, he's great. He's great, and I just hope England don't come and try do this left back gimmick with him, man. Bro, leave him alone, bro.
We got Lewis Hall, man. It's calm.
Honestly, leave him alone, bro. That's a centre midfielder.
No, 100%. And obviously, as you mentioned earlier, popped up with the goal. Really nice, kind of dancing through your defence and then putting it into the corner. I think Ortega should have Ortega should have definitely saved it.
We need to, bro. Something needs to be done. I genuinely couldn't believe. It only really hit me. Like, I knew it was bad. Then, like, 2 days later, I rewatched all the goals. It hit me so hard. Like, the ball goes straight at Ortega, and Ortega just palms it, but doesn't save it.
Yeah,
And
he gets
just
a
goes
big
into the
hand
corner.
to it as well.
Like, I feel like as a keeper, if you can get your hand to the ball, it should stop.
Yeah.
The ball shouldn't go any further. Unless it's like a crazy, like, shot with so much power behind it. Fair enough. But I don't know, man. Like, he has to do better there for me.
No, 100%. But let's talk about some of the fallout after the game. Obviously, kind of kicked off with when Arsenal took the lead, Gabriel celebrating in Haaland's face.
Yeah,
a bit of get back from the first game of the season, and then Lewis Skelly, of course, mocking the celebration, which I thought was class. Cheeky. But I've been really surprised with the kind of the fallout, especially in the media and the way that people have been talking about Lewis Skelly and his attitude, and he might need to be careful because of what he's doing, and he's a young player and he's not won much to warrant the way that he's acting on the pitch. But I feel like, I don't know, it's really shocking to me really hearing that, because I think in football, the things that we love about the game are the rivalries, and what makes the best rivalries is that intensity, that kind of the aggression towards, from each team towards each other. And I think when you look at like Manchester United versus Arsenal back in the day, you had like Cesc Fabregas throwing pizzas at Sir Alex Ferguson in the tunnel and stuff. You had Roy Keane and Vieira going at it every time they were playing against each other. Even if you want to look at like El Clasicos, you had Sergio Ramos, you had Puyol, PK, and it was always fiery, those games. And for me, I think that this Arsenal Man City game the past few seasons has really restored that feeling, because I think you get the sense that these two teams don't like each other at all. And I think after the first game of the season, Arsenal were really fueled and really they almost said to themselves, like, we don't lose at the Emirates when we play against City. Like, there's no way we lose that game. And I think they really their performance really embodied that. But what do you think of the whole rivalry? Do you see Arsenal as actual rivals to you guys? Because I know a lot of City fans kind of try and just play it off and be like, nah, you guys aren't real, or be like, yeah, Arsenal aren't real competitors. Do you know what I mean? Like, because obviously you guys had that rivalry with Liverpool, but it wasn't the same type of rivalry as this. It was a rivalry because you guys were competitors and you were both going for the league, but there wasn't that same kind of aggression or tension within the game. So yeah, how do you kind of do you see Arsenal as rivals for you guys at all?
Bro, they beat us 5-1. There's no way they can't be our rivals if they beat us 5-1. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's everything. Like, do you know what? I have a good memory as well of this stuff. So it all started, like, this whole Arsenal Man City thing started from 21-22 with Foden won Young Player of the Year the second time.
Okay.
They were saying that Saka deserved Young Player of the Year and Foden robbed.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Saka deserved it. I thought personally, I had two names that I thought were head and shoulders above the rest of the nominees, was Declan Rice and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Those were my two names that I thought they were clear above the rest. But I don't know. From then it became a thing of Arsenal fans between Saka and Foden, and then became from Saka and Foden, City and Arsenal, and then I think it was that season as well where Rodri scored the last minute winner and took off his top.
Yeah.
So from there it all became
And then that summer as well, isn't that the summer where Jesus and Zinchenko joined Arsenal as well?
Arsenal, yeah. So it all became a thing of, like not really like they're copying Man City, but it was more like, we're gonna dethrone Man City.
Yeah.
So yeah, that became the thing, and yeah, we got into a title race. So then from then it hasn't really like slowed down at all. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think they're definitely rivals. And to be fair, I don't really enjoy the rivalry, but like I can appreciate the rivalry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can like I think it's good. Like the stuff with the celebration, the stay humble.
I think it's good for the sport. It's good for the game. Like that.
Why are we?
You want to tune into Arsenal Man City games because you're like, what are these guys gonna do? Is Haaland gonna respond back? Like, do you know what I mean?
And I feel like when they retire, Gabriel and Haaland, bro, I think they really love each other, bro. I think deep down they like. I even see them in the game, they'll be laughing with each other, joking, and then start fighting for the ball after. Like, it's a real sort of. I respect it a lot, man.
They're restoring the feeling, man, for sure.
For sure. I really do like it, man. I can't lie. And yeah, like I don't know. I think he'll become like a proper, like a thing.
Yeah.
We played them. When did we play them? Oh, we played them at the Etihad and barely got away with a point.
Yeah.
So they were definitely feeling sort of hard done by that. And then now they sort of got their get back. So we'll see if we verse each other again this season. Not sure how likely it is, but
I mean, it would have to be in the Champions League.
yeah,
I feel like
I don't know.
that would really that could
that would
really
be
boil
serious.
over. 2 legs in the Champions League, Arsenal City. That could be crazy.
That would be so serious, so serious. And then I think next season, yeah, man, yeah, we'll be there for sure. But yeah, man, shout out to Arsenal, man. They got their win, and to be fair, they have been the better team this season, in my opinion. Like even in the game, I said it when the game happened. The game that they beat us, the game that we drew at the Etihad, we needed like a 97th minute winner. To get a point
deflected
against
as
10
well.
men.
Yeah,
Against 10 men, like at home, that's a sign that we should not have won. We should not got anything from that game, bro. Like, yeah.
no, 100%. But let's move on to some of the transfers. Obviously, January is a busy month for a lot of clubs. Not as crazy as the summer, but for teams looking to kind of add a little bit to their teams to push them forward in the leagues, or if they need with things like injuries and whatnot, if they need any reinforcements. So what sort of are some of the January transfers that you're looking forward to seeing the most this season?
Looking forward to, I'd probably have to go for Nico Gonzalez.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done like any research on him. I haven't looked into anything. Like my friends have even been sending me stuff. I've been saying I'm not looking at it. Like I wanna go into this with like a fresh mind and like see really what he can do. Like just straight out like show me who you are type thing, innit? So yeah, I'm excited to see. Obviously from FM, I had him on FM a few years ago at Crystal Palace. It was a great number 6 for me. But I need to see how he plays. One thing I did see was his when players join, they do like their FIFA rating.
Oh yeah.
And his one surprised me a bit. I don't know if he was just being humble or what, but he gave himself like pretty low pace. I think he gave himself good passing, good physicality, and okay defense. But that was really it. So it intrigues me. Like, wow, you don't think like most players will give themselves like some quite inflated stats.
Yeah, big
like
themselves
a high
up.
rating. Like he gave himself like a pretty humble rating as well. Like, I think it was like
And he's staying
just
humble.
about 80. Yeah, just staying humble. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm probably most excited to see him for sure because from what it seems like and from the way he's described himself, seems like he'll give a bit more defensive intensity. Still, not as much as I probably would have wanted, but it's a start. Do you know what I mean? I can't complain. Maybe in summer we go again and get another midfielder. We see how that goes. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how he works out for us.
No, fair enough. I think for me, one of the signings I'm most excited to see is actually not even in the Premier League. It'd have to be Kvaratskhelia to PSG. I think that this kind of PSG project post Mbappe has really intrigued me with some of the players that have come through to the fore. Obviously, the likes of Barcola, Desiree Doué. You've got Joao Neves in midfield as well. Ousmane Dembele the last couple of weeks has really turned it up, but I think in attack they've at times been lacking, especially with kind of the false nine system that they've been playing. I think adding Kvaratskhelia to that as a left wing option, at the time I question it, and to be fair, I still do kind of question it because they have a lot of cover in those areas. Obviously, Barcola can play over there, Doué can play over there, but I think a player like Kvara is that he almost has that superstar quality, and maybe you could say that was missing a bit with Mbappe leaving. And I think, especially in the Champions League, he's the type of player that can decide matches on his own. Someone that can, pick up the ball, weave through 2 or 3 guys, play a slip through ball into someone, or finish himself off either foot as well. He's a seriously dangerous player, and I think that in the Champions League, he's someone that could really come in clutch for PSG. I think that especially as well with the kind of the false nine role that Dembele has kind of found himself in the last couple of weeks. I'm excited to see how those two link up as well. And I think, yeah, PSG's attack going forward, it really excites me. I think it could be quite fluid. I'm a bit worried for Barcola, though, because I don't think he's as good on the right as he is on the left. I still think he can do a job on the right as kind of like a traditional winger, but it will be interesting to kind of see how he deals with that dynamic change. I think Doué might get a bit more minutes because I think he's a bit more comfortable on the right than Barcola is. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how Kvara meshes with the rest of the team, and I think they could be a surprise package in the Champions League. PSG is always a weird one for the Champions League because it's like the past couple seasons, it's always been like you expect them to get far, and you're always thinking, oh, maybe it could be the year that they finally win it, and they almost always disappoint. But I don't know. I think this year, with the expectation being a bit less because obviously Mbappe's not there, I think there could definitely be some serious dark horses. I don't know. I could see them making like a quarter final, maybe even a semi. So yeah, are there any others that you're kind of looking forward to seeing or interested in?
Looking forward to seeing your boy.
I
Actually,
knew he was gonna bring this up, man.
Mr. MBE, Marcus Rashford. Yeah, nah, I can't lie. I don't know. When I seen the signing pictures and like him holding the kit and stuff and
Bro,
the
it
training
looks
pictures,
so weird, man.
nah, but I was vibing with it. I can't lie. I'm vibing with it. Like I see, I was like, I'm low key. I'm seeing the vision. You know, number 9. Like I'm really
It's
seeing
a
it.
Rash
Like,
9 era.
bro, I can't lie. Like I low key. I think the color kind of suits him as well. I can't
Kind of
lie.
like an off-red. You know, It's not too
Yeah.
far from home. Yeah, I can hear it.
I'm definitely. I want to see. First of all, I want to see, is he like a main sort of like mainstay in the team, or like is he just gonna be sort of eased in and see what they can do with him? Is he gonna start up front or off the left? Like, I want to see what the plan is, because like, you know, they've already got a nice attack there with the likes of Bailey, Rogers, Watkins. Obviously, they had Duran, but he's now gone.
Yeah,
And now adding Rashford to that, they also signed Doniel Marlon. They signed Asensio. Yeah, like I can't lie, I'm really like, I'm trying to see what they're cooking, because if they can put the right pieces together in certain matches, Villa will become a great. It's already a really tough game now, but that'll become a disgusting, bro. Marlon and Rashford. Do you know how much pace in behind?
that's a crazy
Bro,
counter-attacking threat.
yeah,
And I think
like-
as well with the way that Aston Villa play, Unai Emery sets them up. Their attackers really like stay high when their team is defending, and you know, once they win the ball back, they're off. Tielemans gets the ball, and you know, he's looking to find a pass into whoever, if it's Morgan Rogers or Leon Bailey or Ollie Watkins making a run into the channel. And I think Rashford really suits that well. I'll be interested to see how the dynamic with him and Unai Emery really works, because I mean, there's been briefs about Rashford, obviously, with his people talking about problems with his personality, not being able to get on with managers, etc. But Unai Emery has a really good track record of working with attackers, and he's someone that kind of has a record for being like no nonsense and being really strict with things like meetings and training and things like that. So it will be interesting to see how Rashford kind of adapts to that sort of environment. And I think for him, it's really this is a really big move for him, because this 6 months is kind of putting him in the shop window essentially for next season. I know Villa have the option to buy, but even in his kind of interview that he did with the club, the way he was talking on the loan deal was almost like he sees it as like a short-term thing, not necessarily being open to staying in terms of a permanent deal, at least now anyway. But even if he's looking at it like that, he has to come into Aston Villa and hit the ground running, because his stock has taken a massive hit. Obviously, not being in the Man United squad for the past like month and a half. But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see. And yeah, what do you think in terms of a prediction for how many goals you think he's getting by the end of the season?
Goals. I really don't know. I think it depends on his role. If he's sort of just brought in as like almost to just do what Duran did.
I don't think it will be that though. You know, I feel like when you're looking at the amount of money Villa are putting up for him in terms of covering his wage, I think they're covering 75%. I know it's still only a loan, but they have the option to buy there as well. I feel like he's probably going to be playing on that left, like where Jacob Ramsey plays. So I don't know. I know obviously he's got the 9 as well, Duran's old number, but I feel like I think he'll be playing with Watkins rather than rotating with him.
Okay, yeah. If we're saying he's starting, what, in all comps or just the league?
All comps. I think he'll get 10.
Yeah.
I think 10's a bit. I think 10's high. I feel like
Really? In all comps? Nah.
we're in February though, bro.
Yeah,
I think
you can get 3 Champions League. I can see 3 Champions League, and then 7 in the league. I think that's doable.
fair enough. I was gonna say more like 8, to be honest. I think yeah, 3 Champions League is a good shout, but I think like 5, maybe 6 goals in the league, 8, 9 goals. I think that's a solid campaign for him. It will be interesting to see like how quickly he is also brought into the team, because obviously he's not played in terms of an actual match for like a month and a half.
Okay,
so
fairs, yeah.
I think
8 might be right.
yeah, I think Emery will obviously try and take his time to ease him in. It's not like Villa are desperate for like a left winger or anything like that. So yeah, no, it will definitely be interesting to see, and for me as well. Hope that he can do well and get his career back on track. But another transfer that I'm looking forward to seeing actually is Evan Ferguson to West Ham on loan. I think it's a really interesting deal, because obviously Evan Ferguson broke through a couple seasons ago, breaking all types of records for strikers at his age, scoring goals, hat tricks for Brighton. He was looking like a serious talent. The next player to be kind of signed out of Brighton for over 100 mil was sort of how he was touted as. But I think it was the next Harry Kane. I think it was an ACL injury. It was definitely a serious injury. He was out for a long time, and his stock has really fallen. It's almost like football's kind of moved past him in this year that he's been out. But him going on loan to West Ham with Graham Potter, obviously the coach that brought him through when he was at Brighton, I think it's a really good opportunity for him to kind of bring his stocks back up, and remind people what he can do. Because I still think he's a good player. I think obviously we'll have to see how he's come back from the injury when he's playing for West Ham. But I think he'll be able to show himself and show why he was touted as one of the best up and coming young players. And I think as well for West Ham and for Graham Potter, it's a really good signing in terms of implementing Potter's style of play. I think one of the things that was kind of a talking point when Potter joined West Ham was how many players are going to be actually suited to his system. And I think obviously bringing in someone like Evan Ferguson, who's familiar with the way that he plays and what he kind of will demand in training and whatnot, I think it could be a really good move for all parties. What do you kind of think of it?
Fair enough. With Evan Ferguson, I've never really been like, I don't know what the word is. It's not like I've not been moved, but like I've not really been sort of like locked in with him that much. Like I don't really pay much attention to him type of thing.
Really?
Yeah, like I was hearing everyone talk about this is the next Harry Kane, this guy's has to be like Arsenal's number 1 target, blah blah blah. Like I would see him like score like goals. Like I'd see the goals he'd score and stuff, but I'll just be like, like I wouldn't really go any further than that to actually seeing how good he was. So this is gonna be like my first sort of like, I guess, proper introduction to him now.
Like taking him in properly.
Yeah, like really sort of seeing who he is for real. So yeah, obviously you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I've been seeing with all these injury issues as well for like however long it's been. Like it's obviously not gonna be easy. He's not gonna, if he was crazy before the injuries, he's not gonna come back instantly to that same level. So you have to give him a bit of grace as well and see how he sort of adapts. And I guess he'll kind of have to redefine his game, which most players do have to do after such a long time out. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see for sure. But this is sort of going to be like a fresh introduction to him. So hopefully we'll be able to do it under Potter. You've seen a few players now who have sort of been trying to go back to the old manager. If you've seen Enzo Lefebvre at Sunderland, that he's gone back to his old manager from Lorient. So he's trying to get form, and he's ripping it up in the championship right now.
Yeah, I will see
by
him.
far. I'd say he has a strong case for the best championship player ever. I'm not gonna lie.
Ever?
Yeah, I think he's.
I don't know, man. Amad Diallo was doing crazy things for Sunderland a couple of years ago, man.
Yeah, I'd say they're similar level players. To be fair, I'd really say they are similar level players. But yeah, like even like Tony, like that's the caliber of player I'd
Yeah.
put him on for sure. So yeah.
No, fair enough. In terms of other transfers, one more I wanted to talk on quickly actually was Matty's tell to Spurs, because obviously there was a whole kind of drama about this in the closing days of deadline day with where he was going. He wanted to leave, and then Spurs came in for him, 60 mil bid. He didn't want to go. It was reported that he'd favoured United in terms of a move, and United went in. I think we wanted a loan, a straight loan, no
No option.
option or obligation. Bayern rejected it, and then Spurs come back in with what was reported initially as just a loan, but then they do have an option to buy, and obviously. I think it's reported they spoke to Ange, and Ange kind of convinced him basically to come and take that next step in his career on loan at Spurs. And yeah, I think Tell for me is someone that I'm really excited to see. I would have loved to have him at United, because I mean, when you look at United's attacking options now, losing Rashford and losing Anthony, even if they weren't massive contributors to the squad, we only have 4 senior attackers, and you know,
really, you got Rashford. I mean, not Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, Xerxes, Højlund.
yeah, and
Gosh,
and
wow.
and Garnacho is the top scorer in the Premier League out of all those 4, like as in all time Premier League goals. I think he's got like 13 or 14. So most Premier League goals of all of those players. So I mean, we definitely could use an extra body, but I think in terms of Spurs, I'm intrigued to see how he'll do, because I think it's a weird one, because he's coming into an environment with a lot of pressure. Obviously, Spurs are not doing the greatest in the league right now. They're playing today in the Carabao Cup, and we'll see kind of if they can.
Currently 1-0 down.
1-0
Cody
down.
Gakpo, yeah.
So I mean, doesn't look like they're gonna be going through there. But it'll be interesting to see how he kind of deals with that pressured scenario, because Spurs are still relatively a big club in terms of the scale of the Premier League, but they're underperforming at the moment. You know, their attackers have been kind of a bit hit and miss. You're looking at Son hasn't really been the same level he's been the past few seasons. Werner is someone that can't deliver. Brennan Johnson has been hit and miss as well. And obviously Tell coming in as a young player, when you're looking at loans, for someone like him, obviously he wants minutes, but he also is going to be looking for time to develop, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to be afforded that time at Spurs with the situation that they're in. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I hear it. With Spurs, let me just quickly check. Do they still have Odubert, or did they just never sign him? Oh, they do.
yeah,
So what's happening with him? Does he just like not play, or
I don't think so. I've not seen it. I've not seen him this season, to be honest.
apparently he hasn't been on the bench since October. Maybe he's out injured.
Maybe he's
or
injured,
something,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think Tottenham have a lot of those sort of players who are like, you know, if they can put the pieces together, they'll be a good player.
Yeah,
Like, they have a lot of players like that who are just nearly there, but not really there
yeah, like
yet.
Bergvall, Archie Gray type. Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Tell will be interesting, because you know he can very easily become a star and just like take up Son's place so easily, or he could become one of those players. Luckily, it's only a loan, and you know, if he makes it clear he doesn't want to stay, they're not gonna buy him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, they're not gonna waste their money on a player who doesn't want to be there. But you know, you'd hope that he doesn't end up like that, because the way it's gone so far at Bayern, it's been a bit surprising to me. Like I wasn't watching a lot of him, but what I did see of him when he signed for Bayern, I was thinking, right, like this is like a this player's got a bit of something about him, you know, nice little inside forward, can play up front, off the wing, like.
got a little bit of Martial, but I'm joking.
But yeah, like I really thought like like there could be something here, and then it just seems like I don't know what the reasons are, but he just hasn't. Feels like he hasn't played at all.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's always going to be tough when you're at Bayern and you're competing with Harry Kane as the starting striker. But I agree with you. I think in the minutes that he has been given and what he has shown, he has been pretty good. He scored quite a few goals. I know this season. I don't think he scored this season, but last season, the season before, where he was kind of picking up some minutes, he showed some bright moments, some cameos, and obviously picked up a couple goals. So it will be interesting to see how he kind of adapts with what I think will be more responsibility in this Spurs team that is also struggling more. Because I mean, there's a difference between coming off the bench for Bayern when they're 3-0, 4-0 up, and then starting for Spurs against Bournemouth when you're being pressed in your own half. Do you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he adapts to the Premier League. But who would you say had the best January transfer window?
Out of which teams? Out of every team.
Yeah, any team that you've seen that you thought you really like the business that they've done this January.
I'm trying to think which teams have really been like.
I've got mine, to be honest.
Who are you saying?
I'm saying Aston Villa.
Yeah.
And obviously they've brought in a couple players. But I think they've done really well to like flip that Duran money and then bring in players that can help them now. And I think
They sold Carlos for 40 mil as well. It's like 30 mil.
Yeah, true. That's another big sell for them. And I like that. Obviously they brought in Rashford on loan and they brought in Asensio on loan. So those are two players that can come in and help them now, but they've not necessarily committed to signing them for the future. So they'll still have funds kind of available from those two sales to spend in the summer if they feel like they need to go again in those positions. I think Marlon could be a really interesting one. He's someone that I think could do well for Unai Emery, as we mentioned, kind of with the counter-attacking style that they like to play. I think he's someone that could be similar to Diaby, but with a bit more goal threat, because I think that was something that Diaby lacked, like the terms of the final product. But I think, it could definitely be a good signing for them. They brought in Disasi as well at the back on loan from Chelsea, which, I mean, I'll be interested to see how he's going to do. I feel like at Chelsea he was a bit up and down. I think at the beginning when he joined, he really had a rough time, and then he kind of got into it again. And then the last couple of months he's not really been in favour under Maresca. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of get his career back on track at Villa. But I really like the business that they've done, especially obviously with them in the Champions League as well. I think they've got 3 slots for players that they can register, but they've signed 5 guys, so it'll be interesting to see kind of who gets in there and who misses out. But I'd say Aston Villa for me definitely are the winners of the transfer window.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking who else has really made signings? City, obviously, but I'm not really even too big on City signings. Like, I don't know if you've even seen, but the Champions League registration, you only register 3.
I was just saying about Villa. Yeah.
So one of them probably going to be Reece, who misses out because he's like the least, according to Pep, he's the least ready between him and Kusanov.
Okay.
And he's like 18 as well. So then it kind of just makes you think, like, why are we buying a £30 million 18-year-old anyway? He's not going to play in the Champions League.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to play in the Premier League. If he does, like, could we not just give that to a youth player anyway? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the one midfielder coming after the 5-1 battering to Arsenal, and it was it was on deadline day, and it was a thing where we weren't going to buy him the day before, according to reports.
It was almost like reactionary.
Yeah, like we were linked with him like for the week before, and they were saying they didn't want to go 60 million for the release because they were trying to negotiate around 40.
Yeah.
Then they were like, you know what, it's fine, we'll come back in summer and do 40. And then because of the 5-1, they're like, nah, we have to do it now. Like, I don't know, I think that's a bit, it's a bit disappointing for me, innit? Like, when you looked from City, like, the start of their like 14-game run where they were just losing every game.
Yeah.
Like, you could see from like the 3rd game in, or even before that, from like the 1st game in, to be fair, when we were already struggling in previous games, midfield was one of the bigger issues in the squad. And we just never really, like, the fact they were willing to just go almost the whole window without addressing it.
Yeah.
Almost willing to just see it out with the rest of with the midfield for the rest of the season. I don't know, man. It was a bit disappointing to me, the manner in which it happened. For me, it should have been first week of January. We should have had a midfielder in the door.
Yeah.
Before anything else, it should
100%.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm still a bit skeptical on the fit of certain players and how we did get Kyle Walker out to AC Milan, which is I guess I don't even know if it's really a positive. Like, obviously, you know, he was way past it, but still, like, I don't know if it's really even a positive, because the alternatives we have, we didn't sign another right back. Do you know what I mean? Rico Lewis hasn't played in quite a while now, probably like a month. Mateus Nunes, you saw in the Arsenal game, there's a lot of times where, there's one clip I remember so well where Foden plays a ball, he plays a through ball, and it's between Gabriel and Lewis Skelly.
Yeah.
And he plays it where, if it's Savio, or if it's Doku, or if it's just any
more attacking player.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a winger, just an attacking fullback.
Yeah.
Their first touch is always going to be towards the goal or across the defender. And he doesn't make the run to make the touch. He just lets the ball come across and then takes it to the corner flag, turns around and recycles it back. And everyone gets back for Arsenal and nothing comes of the attack.
Yeah.
But that's an attack wasted, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't, even though he has that pace and he is in my opinion, he's a better defender than Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
He's still not adding much, do you know what I mean, in that overlapping role. So I don't know, it's a bit I don't know. I give City winner like a 5 or a 6. I don't know, I'm not too too gassed on it right now.
Nah, I'd have to agree, to be fair. I feel like yeah, I mean the two centre backs, obviously, young, unproven, coming in. So I'm not really sure whether, in terms of the fit for what City need right now, I'm not really sure if it makes too much sense, considering that I feel like with City's players aging, they need someone who can kind of come in and be ready now. But I wanted to move on quickly before the show ends to some of the worst transfers of January, and well, who had the worst window as well. And I'm not gonna lie, I'd have to put Manchester United up there for one of the worst windows this January. I think that when you look at the situation that the club's in at the moment, we mentioned kind of earlier with Rashford and Anthony going and the club being left with only 4 senior forwards. And, you know, even though Rashford and Anthony weren't contributing, 4 senior forwards across 3 slots is not good enough. And, you know, especially when Ineos have known that they're going to be trying to get rid of Rashford, they're trying to get rid of Anthony the whole of January. They've been shopping Rashford around since like the middle of December. I don't know how you're not prepared essentially to kind of bring in someone to replace him. And yeah, I feel like it's a bit of negligence on their part. Obviously bringing in Dorgu, I think is a good signing. Someone who's young, obviously fits the wing back position nicely. Someone that I think Amorim can mold and work into the system. I think he'll have benefits for the way that we play. But I don't know. I think when you're looking at the position that the club's in right now, sitting in 13th, 12th, I would have liked to see a bit more ambition in the window. I know obviously things are tight with PSR and whatnot, but I mean we freed up money with the Rashford thing, kind of getting his wage off the books, with the Anthony deal as well, getting his wages off the books. You can't tell me that the club couldn't have brought in another player on loan. Obviously they fumbled the Tell signing because we didn't want to have an option or an obligation or whatever. We just wanted a straight loan. But you can't tell me that Mateus Tell was the only player that United were looking at for January to bring in. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's good enough that there were no sort of alternatives or anything like that, especially because, I mean, Amorim in our last game didn't play Højlund or Xerxes. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that was a clear message to the board or the higher ups to say that, look, like I need reinforcements in attack. So, I mean, I think it's going to be tough for Amorim to kind of get through the season with the attacking options that we have, and we're definitely going to need one of those 4 players to really step it up and go off alongside Amad Diallo as well. To be honest, who's been our best player this season. But yeah, what are there any other deals that really stand out to you as kind of bad deals this January?
Bad deals.
Yeah.
Gosh. I don't know. It depends from which angle you want to look at it. But
From any angle. I knew, because I wanted to bring this up as well.
Yeah, I think that's a bit questionable. They gave him like a 6-7 year contract.
Yeah.
And now they're sending him on loan after 6 months. I don't know about that.
50 mil signing as well to bring him back.
Yeah, I really don't know about that one, man. I think the Chelsea sort of hierarchy and the way they're running things right now, it's a bit of a mess, honestly. Like, I've seen someone say it before, but without Cole Palmer, you look at this team this is really this is a mess. Like this is not a good project at the moment. So I don't know. I'm a bit unsure. Obviously, I've seen he scored.
Yeah, in his debut.
Yeah, really nice goal. You know, maybe the Kaka region shouts are true.
Chill out.
But I'm not sure about that deal. And yeah, he's probably going to leave in like at the end of the season. And I don't think he'll come back to Chelsea. Apparently, it was of his choice that he wanted to leave.
Really?
So it's almost like a Rashford situation for him, putting himself in a shop window type thing. So
Yeah. I mean,
we'll see.
I don't know. Felix, the whole bringing him back to Chelsea thing for me in the summer, I thought it was.
Made no sense.
I thought it was so weird. I think, to be honest, looking back at it now, I think it was definitely sort of like a thing with Atletico, like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and obviously they Conor Gallagher went the other way.
Yeah.
And with Gallagher being like homegrown as well, that frees up way more money for them to spend on PSR. So I think, you know, spending that 50 on Felix for them was kind of seen as, okay, like whatever, we'll bring him back. But I think João Felix is one of those players that unfortunately, like the past, you know, since he's moved from Benfica, he just hasn't really lived up to that potential. You know,
he has more career yellow cards than assists.
It's crazy, you know, and he's someone with all the talent in the world. Like you can see that it's evident when he plays how talented he is as a footballer, but just putting that together, he hasn't really been able to do that at any of the clubs he's been at so far. So I mean, we'll have to see if he can do that at AC Milan. But that's all we have time for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening, and until next week, we're out.
Do the right thing and get yourself down to the Hat Factory Arts Centre in Luton for Soul Scene. Beginning on the 14th